welcome back to another therapy bubble, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about my book and how to use it, other than basically read it. The first port of call is to allow yourself to read it with letting it all flow through and past you, so that you don't get to the end of each sentence or word or paragraph or page or chapter and think, I've understood every part of it. You just read it, let it go over you, and the bits that are yours will stick, and also all of that will pass through your body as well. And because I've written it in a way where I talk about something from its inception, the A to Z of it, and I try to incorporate all the layers and the multi-layers of it, and it gradually does a circling back motion whilst it goes through all the avenues of how you become a person. So that even if you didn't understand it, it's going to be recapped in some other way, because people understand things in different ways, and so I've tried to make it that I won't leave anyone behind. So I've incorporated a sort of a evolving repetition. So the first half of the book is all about process, and you begin with chapter 1, which takes you through the process of becoming a self, so just a human body, and who you are as a person, so that you can remove yourself from your roles and the expectations and your duties and your burdens, and just become a human body and a human being with some sense of humour and characteristics and bits of this is just who you are, and your little weird things, and just how your body is, and what you have to live with, and how you were born, and what conditions you have, so that you can be the human being that you are, and looked after and empathise with how you need your world to be and how you look after your body. Then it goes on to chapter 2, which is about taking that internal environment. So now you've got a relationship with yourself, you're now going to make it with others. So you're going to externalise it, but only to the immediacy of your own home. So you're going to work on how you create that environment of communication with self and other, in your past and your future and your relationships, and you connect them all into a way where you understand where your conditions of worth are, what things you have telling you, and what your traditions are, and your prized things are, so that you can separate them out and come a bit more to terms with them, and gives you the basis of starting an environment of person-centeredness, so that you're putting down the base level of the core conditions: empathy, congruence, and positive regard, unconditional positive regard. So that's basically unconditional kindness. No matter what happens, you deserve some kindness and some empathy and some congruence and just transparency on evolving from this moment. So it just gets you from the internal environment of your body and yourself to the general environment of how you talk to yourself and what you have to live with, and how you converse that with other. Then it goes on to chapter 3 on how to get homeostasis, which is some kind of life balance, body, self, roles, duties, and this bigger social responsibility of self. And it goes through a few different types of theory to help you come to terms with seeing all of yourself, all the levels of yourself, like Johari's window, and that actualized living. So it gets you into a little bit more flow of the dialogue of self with other, and self who is now going to be authenticated into some of those roles. Chapter 4 is to deepen your becoming. So now that you are a body and a self and a person, you can authenticate your roles, and you can understand your process enough to be able to communicate it to someone else. And it has the theory of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which allows you to identify where you might have deficits in your life that could be creating a block or stopping you from fully self-actualizing. And once you realise and you think, oh, and I can continue the maintenance of investment of self there, but I've also got to realise I've forgotten all about this bit, and it just gives you something to pivot around on how to develop a deeper and broader knowledge of yourself and your life and your connection to the outside world. Then chapter 5 takes you through the counselling process and the person-centeredness and the 7 stages of process, your identification of self, how you can find a counsellor, and your client expectations, managing those sort of things. So it's sort of a see if you need or want to have that space to become yourself, and it creates that questioning there on whether actually, no, I'm pretty good at this, I can get on with doing these things myself, or oh no, I'm struggling with all this, I might want to have a space like that where I can unpack these things and work on them with someone who's safe and creating empathy for you. Then we've got chapter 6, which is the person-centered environment and your instincts to develop. And there's a few skills in that chapter, like the therapeutic silence, reflections and paraphrasing, transparency, expectations, and relational depth. And relational depth is a really amazing skill to hone, because you get good at knowing yourself and communicating that without projecting onto other, and inviting their perspective on that as well as their own perspective in general. And you get this discussion that's safe, so everyone isn't hiding who they are, they're communicating who they are, and no one's taking that person and they're going, oh, I like how you do that differently, or I can understand why you do that differently, or I get what you need from me, and that makes everything a lot easier, thanks for explaining that. Then you go on to chapter 7, which is person-centeredness in kids, and that could be really good for A, if you're wishing to start a family or you have a family, but B, if you're in little space and developing that dynamic of caregiver little, that you could get something from developing how you would help that dynamic evolve into its fullest actualization. You could get great stuff out of it, including process and therapeutic movement and safety makings and all sorts of things. So and it has becoming parents, raising in a person-centered environment, and kids in the cyber world. Then we have chapter 8, which is person-centered partnerships, so that's relationships, intimate relationships, and the relationship stages of growth, the nature and nurture, and unique individuals in and us. So it's all about working on how we create a spectrum that includes all of us, the whole of both of us, or our group of people, in everything that they are, so everyone's safe and fully expressed and fully invited, and we know how to keep each other safe in that interweave, and feel like we're being met and seen as unique people that are celebrated from that uniqueness. We don't all have to be the same. I'm not right and you're not wrong. We're different, and I love that difference, and let's welcome and invite that into communication, so that our relationship, or my relationship with self, or our relationship with children, or our relationship with our work life or friends or social life, can be more authentic and can invite them to be more authentic, and then it gets really interesting and loving and wonderful. Then you have person-centeredness and your sex life, so it gives you that ability to go through starting with the self, communicating, learning, blocks and barriers and safeties, so that you can get back in touch with a person-centered relationship with your body, your arousal, your play zones, your communication, your contracting, all of those yummy things that can create safety, the libido ratio, all of these dynamics that can help you go, oh, this isn't personal, it's this thing. Oh, now we know that, we can like really live with and work really well with our sex life and our sexual self. Then there's chapter 10, which is the person-centered work life. Where can we take this? How far can it reach? What are we missing? And chapter 11, which is person-centeredness with grief and loss, stages of grief, working through creating the best environment. So it gives you, and in that grief and loss, it's not necessarily about death and dying, it's about a sudden change, or loss of relationship, or job, or this whole COVID thing has created devastating loss to connection and social life and all sorts of things. So that's obviously not in there because it weren't there back then, but you can extend it to that if you want. And then so once you've got through that, and some people read the first and second half sort of next to each other, read one chapter of that and one chapter of that and go along, because it helps it make sense for them. Other people start with the second half and other people start with the first half. But by the time you've done both, you should have a real good A to Z in a thing that interweaves, that goes, oh, I can see the matrix now. And now that I've seen that, I can take that key and find it in the shape of me. So then the second half is basically a case study of my life. So it shows you how I was born and those conditions of worth and how it would affect my personality or my rights or my body or my sense of self, becoming self in that malformed way, and how it affects your roles and who you are and how you're a daughter and a mother and a wife and or partner. And then counselling and the whole dynamic of counselling and my specifics through that counselling thing, so you can see, oh, I can see how that, oh yeah, right, and oh, if I interjected that with my thing, I could see how that would all then go like this for me. So it just opens it all out into this transparent look into mine. But because it's an A to Z, it just shows you the whole thing in process, that you could then go, right, I think I know where to start with mine now. And then at the end of it, once you've gone through the therapeutic process I have, and shown you where I've developed my rights and removed my conditions of worth and all these different things, then shows how you then live with what you need to live with. So yeah, we can do all this process and we can get all this well-being and we can understand all these things and we can drop a whole load of conditions of worth and put empathy and kindness and person-centered values in place. But some things you just got to live with, and these are the ways that you then infiltrate them into your life as well. And so it just, I won't go through the chapters because it just is a case study of my life, and allows you to put into a person the first chapter. So it depends on what you best read like. If you're into process and a factual, first half will probably suit you better. Only if you let yourself know that you're not a counsellor, you're not reading this to become a counsellor, you're reading this to become yourself. So you don't have to understand the ins and outs of every single utterance. And also you can sort of read things and think, no, I've got that, I can skip this bit. So it's you sort of evolving it into what makes sense for you. And then you should be left, as I say, with that key in the shape of you. So you can then go, oh, there I am, and that's what I need. And this is how I could get it in some ways. And I do like that, but I would need it like this. And it just begins those conversations, that empathy, and that ability to do that little bit of process with self. So it's called How I Became a Person by Fay Brown. It's on paperback, which is £10 plus postage, and abroad it is ridiculously expensive. It's like 15 or 20 quid to post a book. So I'm sorry, but all the money goes towards our charity, and it funds our charity and the work we do there. Or it's available on Kindle for $9.99. Or if you're a low-income family or you're struggling in some way, I give this shit for free. Like, this isn't the best book. It's still got a whole load of editing that needs doing, but like, I did it myself, I wrote it myself, I published it myself, and I wanted to get something out there that didn't need to be perfect. It needed to be good enough, and you'll get the gist, and the bits that are irritating you'll skip on, and the bits that you are like, oh, this makes so much sense, I want to fold that down and let someone else read that or develop it in some way, then you can. So it's just one book. You know, you might find another book that you better respond to in terms of process, but this might get you on that journey. So if you want it for free, then just email, and I can send you a free e-copy. So yeah, get in touch if you want to go on a process. Jazz hands. So see you later, alligators, and welcome. Bye bye for now.